All of these, as Dr. Isbell says, once you've shared somebody's hospitality, once you've been in their home, it's very hard, if not impossible, to dislike them. You're going to accept them, or at least you're going to listen to them. And so that's the other thing that Gulen has done. Now, those two can help solve the poverty problem. But there are other individual qualities that Mr. Gulen has that I think make him extraordinary and make the movement extraordinary. And I'll go back to something that Father Hoy said that was very interesting. He said a lot of things that were very interesting. He always says things that are very interesting. But the one thing that he said that really resonated with me, he was describing people in the Gulen movement. And he said he's always impressed because they seem to transcend their humanity. They do more than you would expect a person to do. And this is true. And I think it's attributable to Mr. Gulen. He transforms the people that he deals with. He inspires them by his writings and by his personal example. He is inclusive. He prepares a role for everybody. If you can't teach, there's something else you can do. If you can't teach, you can cook for the iftar dinner. Every person that's in this movement feels that he or she is contributing. And he's very flexible. Although it's true he has said he does not belong to a Sufi order, my co-author and husband and I have written papers, we've examined it, and we call him a neo-Sufi because we believe that describes him more than anything else. He is a neo-Sufi in his flexible thought. He is able to see ways of getting around an issue more than anybody else I've ever seen. And a good example of this, again, I'm going to refer to Dr. Kirk's presentation. This is the second time I've seen it, and I'm always moved by it. There's something about seeing faces that is very powerful. And the idea of pairing families, what a great idea that is. The idea that it's very easy for us to, if we're advantaged, it's easy to write a check, it's easy to send money. You're contributing a lot more and you're committing a lot more to yourself if you go down and you actually visit a family and get to know a family. And more than that, you gain just as much, if not more, than the recipient does. And so this is another way of making a change in people's lives, I think. The idea that the son that you were talking about is saying, I share half an apple, I share half my toy. He's going to grow up and know what it means to help other people, to share other people, and to make a difference. And so I believe that these are just some, and I'm going to use, and I have a feeling we all are going to be using Dr. Isbell's term. I feel like an Egyptian now, pressed for time. I'm not going to go on much longer because you get the drift, but it all brings us back to what we can do as individuals. And I think one of the most important things is to disseminate the word. Conferences such as this go a long way toward informing people, toward letting people know about the movement in general, how they can get involved, what they can do, what it means, why it's important, why we should all be aware of it. And so, again, it brings me full circle to being able to thank the conference presenter and thank all of you for attending. Thank you. Be safe going home.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fontino. And this concludes our conference for today. Thank you all for coming here from long distances, from different countries. I know some of you did. And I hope to see you all again in future programs here in Louisiana or at different places. Or we may be a guest for you next time. Thank you again and have a great weekend.
You have organized several Gulen conferences over the past few years. What have you accomplished by these conferences, and how did the community respond to these conferences? So as a result, or are you happy with the outcome?
Yes, this is actually the fifth conference that we have organized, and the first one we had was in Houston at Rice University in 2005. And to the Gulen Movement, what Gulen Movement offers, the ideas that the Gulen Movement has, there is a big interest in the academia and also in the general public. Several books came out of these conferences. More than 100 articles have been published and written in these conferences. So there's a big demand in the society, and we had this fifth conference in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we will continue to do similar conferences in the future. Each time we get different academics looking at the same issue from different perspectives and analyzing the movement and its activities from different disciplines and different perspectives. And we also learn a lot, by looking at these studies, and we will continue to organize similar conferences in the future.
If someone new were to come to you who knew nothing about the movement, how would you try to explain to them what the Gulen Movement's all about?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I would start with the idea that it is a movement, it's not an organization, and that even though it's named for the man, Fethullah Gülen, he's not a leader in the sense that he actually runs things, but he inspires people by what he says and what he writes, and he inspires people to pool their resources and to accomplish changes in society, making things better.
How do you see the Gulen Movement's contributions to the humankind in general?
I think Gulen is going to the heart of what it means to be a human being in a holistic kind of way. It's a movement also that is essentially, it seems to me, about education and educating people in values in particular. Interdisciplinary, across the whole range of subject matter, there is a value base, and I think that's an important thing about what Gulen is trying to do and say. I think how he holds together the inner and outer, as it were, the external and the internal, is impressive. It is what is coming from deep within himself in a relationship that is rooted in the love of God, that expresses itself through relationships, through dialogue, through tolerance and respect for diversity and our interdependence as human beings on the planet are crucial themes, I think, for the future of life together on this planet. And I think he's touching on all of this in a very helpful and positive way.
How would you define or describe the movement, and who is Fethullah Gülen in your view?
I think he's one of the great 20th and early 21st century people who brings to spirituality, who brings to faith, who brings to dialogue a global perspective, and who brings an essential sense of values that are at the core of what it means to live peacefully and to live in love and tolerance upon the planet itself. And those are crucial things for the future of the human race on the planet. There is no peace, as someone has said, unless there is peace between the religions of the world. And Gulen has made a huge contribution, I think, towards that. His international significance, his global significance, and I think he ought to be studied in a much broader and wider sense by people who are concerned with the future of humanity and the future of the planet.
How Mr. Gülen is dismantling barriers of engagement?
I think he touches something deep within